When most people think about tapping into their intuition, they think about the third eye chakra, and they think about all of these mystical, spiritual things that can't be tangible. But when it comes to tapping into your intuition, it can be very tangible. And that's why I like to remind people that though we are spirits having a temporary human experience, you can't discount the human experience part. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. So when it comes to being able to start hearing your intuition, that also includes things like being able to listen to your body. So when I talk about having all of the outside noise quiet and cleared out of your inside mind so that you can start hearing the voice from within, that also means the body, which is why that spiritual equals sober video is important. Because for some of us, those outside influences, well, not for some of us, really for all of us, no matter who we are, no matter what we can handle, no matter what's healthy for us, those outside influences muddle our inside voice. Whether that be from what we get as somatic feedback from the body, which is just physical feelings, basically, from the body connected to our spirit, or spirit downloads, for lack of a better way of putting it. So I want to just give you guys a couple tips on how you can notice that your body is connected to your spirit, the part of you that is God, source, spirit, cosmic consciousness, your soul, your higher self, your higher power, whatever you want to call it. Your body is connected to that and is giving you what we call somatic feedback, so that you can notice, because some people, that's why there's all, some people get it in different ways than others. That's why there are all the clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant, etc., etc., etc. Because people get somatic feedback in different ways, as well as their brain interacts with the source energy in different ways. So for instance, I would be what most people would call clairaudient, in the sense that I get audio hallucinations that literally sound. I can hear in my brain. It's like I'm literally hearing it, someone speaking. I also have just been very grateful my entire life to be in tune with my body and very sensitive to my body. So I've always been very sensitive to those outside influences, any sort of inebriants. So let's get to these tips. 1, you can tell if you're closed off versus open, literally based on the way your hands and your arms are doing things. People like to talk about body language when it comes to being able to see how others feel, but we don't often actually think about our body language when it comes to what we're doing. You know, are your arms crossed? I cross my arms a lot, actually. And when I started to notice this, I was like, I am a very closed off person. And I was. And since then, I've become far more open, not only to the point where I cross my arms less, but I laugh at things more. I was just having this conversation with my significant other this morning, where I was talking about how there are things that he talks about and there are things that other people talk about that I just laugh at. Like, not like a little laugh, not like a fake laugh, but like I get these big belly laughs more and more and more every day, because I have become more and more comfortable with things that would otherwise make people uncomfortable or closed off. But now I find myself like having these big moments of belly laughing at them. So, is your body literally showing you that you're closed off? And you can notice this in all sorts of situations. The second one that I want to talk about is something you can do if you're trying to make a decision. This is what I just talked about as far as what your arms are doing. That also applies to your legs. Are your legs crossed, or are your legs apart? Are your arms crossed, or closed in? Are your shoulders hunched and forward? Those are all things that can tell you whether or not you're open or closed in any particular given situation. But another way that you can tell whether or not you're into something or not is literally just standing up on your feet and seeing if you lean a little forward or a little back. Our bodies are quite literally compasses for our soul. I like to use the metaphor of a computer and the hardware versus the software. If our spirit, soul, higher self, higher power that is within us, that little piece of us that is God, source, spirit, cosmic consciousness within us, if that is the software, then our body is the hardware. And as I like to remind people, if we didn't have computers, then computer software would be completely useless. If we didn't have bodies, then our spirits would not be able to interact on this earthly plane the way they do. So literally just standing up and seeing. And you don't even necessarily have to stand up. You can just, are you leaning in? Are you leaning into a situation, or are you leaning back? Or are you not doing either? That can give you a little clue as to how you feel about a situation. Because if you're leaning in, think about how we usually feel when we're leaning in. We're intrigued, we're interested, we're, all of the good things most of the time. Sometimes we can be really interested in something that scares us, but it probably doesn't scare us so much as it intrigues us if we're leaning in. If it scares us, if it makes us uncomfortable, we lean back. And you can do this with all sorts of things just by having that awareness. And if there's one thing I'm going to repeat all the time, it's awareness, 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 awareness. Self-awareness as well as awareness of what is going on around you. Because if there's one thing you ever take away from anything I'm ever saying, it's that the more you can develop self-awareness and awareness of the things around you, the more your life will be healthier and happier. So, let's see, is there anything else? Oh, I need to get my breathe oils out. I'm a little congested this morning. Excuse me. So, the last thing I wanted to mention here is that one of the things that I've noticed out of all of the people that I've interacted with is that, as I like to talk about, there's a difference between mental distress, mental disorders, and mental illness. And there are a lot of people that I've met who thought that they had a mental illness, were genuinely chemically imbalanced, from birth, basically, or if not from birth, had become chemically imbalanced in a permanent way. And then they dedicated their life to a spiritual way of being and actually realized that they weren't permanently chemically imbalanced. I see this a lot where people will think that they have ADHD in a permanent way and that they're just going to have to live with that. And the more they do things like meditation and more spiritual practices, the more that they realize that they just didn't have the self-awareness and didn't have the tools to live in a healthy way. So through their body, that was being reflected back at them as what they thought was ADHD. And to be fair, we can be chemically imbalanced for short periods of time. This often comes from mental distress, but that doesn't mean you have a permanent mental illness. I also want to note the fact that I am not legally a doctor. This is my observation. So, I don't want anybody to come back because they haven't actually done the work, because they thought it was supposed to like instantaneously, miraculously become a miracle in a holy moment and not feel cured and then come back at me. Because that happens sometimes. I don't want to be a vibrational match for that. So I'm laying it out on the table right now. I have my certifications in what I do, but legally I am not a medical professional. So I'm just expressing my observations. But my observations have been that there have been several people who thought they had some sort of mental illness. I do have my degree in psychology, so I'm not just talking out of my ass. In that sense, I just certified, licensed. I am not legally a medical professional. Anyway, moving on. What I have noticed, out of all the people that I know who have dedicated their lives the most to a spiritual way of being, those are the people who went from thinking that they had some sort of permanent mental illness, chemical imbalance, to realizing that through a spiritual way of life, they can relieve themselves of those things that caused what appeared to be a mental illness. And one of my favorite things that I heard recently was this idea that, you know, being that we're spirits having a temporary human experience and are sort of downloaded into our bodies, that those spirits who come down onto this earthly plane and are downloaded into a body and not fully integrated into the body, those are the ones who end up getting diagnosed with things without the obvious corresponding mental distress. And those, again, are the people who benefit the most from spiritual practices, because they end up realizing that it wasn't that they had some sort of permanent illness. It was that they just didn't have the tools they required to be fully integrated into this 3D reality as an extra dimensional being. I love that idea that the more we are fully integrated, and this is why I like to talk about how we have to align with and center and clear all of our chakras. You can't just focus on the third eye. Otherwise, you're gonna feel crazy. You have to have an aligned chakra system below that, and an open crown chakra, and an open root chakra, as well as a stable root chakra, to have those spiritual downloads make any sort of sense, which is why I teach people how to recognize the physical manifestations of unbalanced chakras so that they can clear those and have the stable foundation they need to receive the spiritual more and more and more. Yeah. That's it, guys. Thank you for joining me for another video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. I have my Patreon where I get deeper into all of these spiritual and practical things, including journal exercises, guided meditations, my course, the Intuitive Lifestyle course, which we just finished up round 3 of. You actually also get the replay of round 2, which had 7 modules and a Q&A, although I don't think the Q&A ever got posted for that. So there's 7 modules and 7 workbooks, and then there's round 3, which I tried to get a little even more spiritual in round 3, and I condensed it down to 5 workbooks. So one's a little more practical and one's a little more spiritual. I also have one-on-one sessions available at this moment. I still have openings in my books for one-on-one clients. So if you would like to heal, grow, and expand your consciousness and end the cycles of suffering that you are experiencing, I would love to have you. And if you know you're really ready, you can sign up for a session package right away. If you have any questions, you can always email me or sign up for my free clarity call. But if you know you're ready, all signing up for my session packages does is commit you to a certain amount of sessions, and then we personalize it from there. So whether you do it every other week, once a week, or twice a week, that is up to you, and what you want to work on is up to you. And if you don't know what you want to work on, I have plenty of wellness inventories that I do with my clients where we can see what it is that you're missing in your life that needs to be balanced to create your foundation so that you can move, as I say, forward to better. I also love to talk about doTERRA. Right now there is a BOGO going on, which will give you a free year subscription, which gives you 20% off of everything you buy. I'm about to get mine. Love the BOGOs so much. Buy one, get one. And you get a free bottle of, I believe it's Citrus Bloom. doTERRA is your one-stop shop for getting rid of all of that synthetic chemical crap that you have in your house and replacing it with the best, cleanest, purest plant medicine that actually works. So you can check out my link for doTERRA below, and you can also, if you have any questions, sign up for a free clarity call to connect with me about doTERRA, because there are options. We do have the subscription where if you don't want to buy one of the starter kits that gives you the free subscription for the year, you can just spend $35 for the year to start your subscription, and then it allows you after that, well, it allows you, that's not what I mean to say. After a year's gone by, your subscription actually gets less expensive, cheaper, every year. So it starts out at $35 a year, and then every year you continue your subscription, your membership, it gets cheaper every year. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Love doTERRA so much, and I'm a part of a group called doTERRA Witches where we do full moon, new moon gatherings and other fun gatherings, as well as free classes. Well, everything's free. Everything we do in doTERRA Witches is free for now. We have all sorts of fun gatherings and free classes. Free gatherings and free classes through doTERRA Witches. All of those links in the description, including several others. So if you're enjoying my content here, I definitely recommend go checking out all those links in the description. And as always, may the energies you serve you well. And let's keep making our way through.